Hello everyone, it's Caribbean E and Tina. Welcome to the channel. Hope everybody's just having just a splendid day and everything is going great and you're living your best life and you're in the best of health.
Yes, most importantly health.
Yeah, especially these days.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with Tina and we were just talking about a very interesting subject.
Yes.
On how the system works in the Matrix, the United States of America. And it is the prostitution of corporate America, the hidden agenda. Okay? And I was looking at my history of working for a corporation for so many years, how I was treated, how some people was treated different from me.
Yeah.
And you have your good old boys, you got your corporate boys, and you got your union boys.
Yes.
So, Tina, how do you proceed? How do you see the whole scope?
Well, I was using an analogy because I feel like analogies break down everything to the most simplest form. And the simplest form I could think of, and I know I'm going to get some people complaining and writing in, was prostitution. I hate to say it. I put the workers as the prostitutes, the corporation or the place that he worked as the pimp. And then he was like, well, I thought that they were like the mafia. And I was like, no, the mafia is definitely the union because nobody works without the mob's say so. It's true. And he was like, I don't get it. So I broke it down and I said like this. I said, look, a pimp wants his woman or his hoe to work as hard as she can for as long as she can. And when she's done, he tosses her aside and he gets another one. She doesn't make that much off of him, but he gives her just enough to make her keep on working. Or holds her by bondage because there's nothing else better. You're not worth anything else. Who else is going to hire you? Things like that. And I saw the same thing happen at your work with people that, even you, that worked for that company, where you guys were literally working and slaving. And all this conversation, though, came about when we were watching the news and they were talking about opening up America. And I said, all these people are going so hard for their companies and, oh, we need to come back because if I get this company opened up, back and running, and I work for them, even in the midst of maybe me getting ill, even in the midst of maybe somebody in my family dying because I kept going to this job, I'm still going to make that money. Let's be clear, and that's what I said. You're not making the money.
Right.
The pimp's making the money. Unless you own the company, you're not making the money.
Right.
That's what started that whole conversation.
Yeah.
And I said, I was like,
wow.
Sorry guys for the wind. It's like really windy today.
Yeah, it's really windy today, guys.
But I said, who makes the money is the owners. So whoever owns that corporation, or in other words, the pimp, gets the house's money. The girl ain't getting it. You ain't getting it.
Right.
So they're going so hard for a company that if you said you weren't going back tomorrow because now they're facing, well, if my company opens and if I don't feel safe enough to go back or the environment's not safe enough for to go back, will they still hold my job? Can I still get unemployment? And I was like, they're not going to, because that's how you know you're expendable.
That's right.
I think they showed the expendability and their pimpishness when they said, when everything closed, oh, well, you're just fired or you're just furloughed and, we're not gonna help pay you. The companies that stepped up and actually helped to keep their employees paid as best they could, now that's a corporation with a heart. That I wouldn't put in the category of a pimp.
Right.
But your company, they work you till you die.
They work you till you drop.
Because they know there's 20 other people waiting on that same job that they can do the same thing to. And the union, he used to always go hard for the union and be like, my union brothers and sisters. And I was like, listen, the union didn't become a multi-millionaire company because they care so much about you. And he found that out when he got sick and you went out on your two operations. They didn't care. They didn't pay. They were like, use up your, what did they say?
Use your vacation, use your sick time, and make sure you keep up on your dues. They said, make sure you keep up on your union dues.
Because the mob needs its cut. That's why I call the union the mafia. Not because historically it has been known as it being established by the mob, but because the mob always gets its cut. The pimp wants to act like he's in charge, but he's never really in charge. Let's be clear. The mob or the gang will always be over the pimp, because the pimp can't get a corner till he clears it with the big boss. And it's the same thing in the corporations.
So welcome to corporate America, because for the most part, corporate America will leave you high and dry. I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah.
They will leave you high and dry. That's what gets me when these guys will go in the back room and try to be foreman and try to come out and act like they all list a bag of chips, trying to be a corporate man. But at the end of the day, when they get ready to fire you, they're going to fire you, and you ain't going to have no union to back you up. Once you go in the back room and be a foreman, you done with all your rights. Now the guys that leave the back office and go back to the truck, now they got to start all over again with the union dudes and being a union guy.
Right.
But when you leave from the truck and go back and be a foreman thinking you all that in the bag of chips, you lose your time and your retirement and everything else. Now you got to come back and try to work for that time back again. Right. So I'm telling you that the corporation ain't your friend.
Yes, and they are not in the business to make you money. They're in the business to make themselves money.
Thank you.
That is why they own the company, they start the companies, and they invest in the companies to make the money, not to put it into the pockets of the employees. You're a necessity to your, what do they call it, a clog in the wheel to make it spin so that they can get the money. But are you essential? Never that. Never. So that's why I always used to tell our kids, you know, his two kids are a prime example of, I'm going to sit back and I don't want any type of career and I don't care about any education. And I told my daughters and my daughter and my sons, you need to go to school. Well,
right.
Two of them went to school, one stopped going to school, and one graduated from college. And I said like this, it's times like this where you see that all jobs, when you're working for someone else,
right,
you're expendable.
You're expendable.
When you have a degree or you have a business or you have saved enough money, then you don't have to have somebody tell you how it's going to be, when it's going to be, and you're not at the mercy of them. So that when something like COVID or whatever hits, a pandemic, let's just put it that way, you have the time, the money, and the stability to sit back and let everything run its course.
Right.
Now, you think the millionaires that own these corporations, you think they're freaking out and they're crying? No, the only thing they're pissed off is instead of making $10 billion in profits and revenue, they're only going to make maybe $2 billion.
Right.
So that's all they're pissed off about.
Right.
Like, let's be clear. When I keep hearing all, especially like Tyson, we use Tyson for example, the Tyson Foods, the meat and poultry. I was like, well, they care how many people die or get sick. There's always tons of undereducated, willing cogs to the system that will sit there and work until they fall out and die.
Right.
So they're going to keep on going. That little letter talking about, oh, there's going to be a meat crisis and stuff like, all that was fuel to make people scared. Yes.
Smoke.
For
That's
a fire.
All it was.
Yes.
Was
so that
smoke.
they can keep on. And our president fell for it. Said, oh my goodness, there's going to be a shortage. It's mandatory. Everybody needs to go back to work that works for them. But there was nothing put in place. And I go, there you go. I said, that's just another thing. A pimp don't care if you run out of condoms. He's looking at you like, and so what if you get HIV or AIDS?
Right.
I need you to go out there and bring me my money. Run me my money.
And you know what? I had this conversation with Tina, and I finally looked at it because I said something's missing. You know, what have I just been through in the last 29 years? And I really felt, you know, because I get a lot of guys on the job, and some of them are two-faced, you know, on the job. And some of them, you know, they got they got this perfect words to say about the corporation. The corporation is this, the corporation is that. The corporation is my shepherd. I shall not want. But for the most part, the hard-working workers, okay, that's still paying for health insurance and everything else, you're the hooker.
You got the shaft, yep.
You got the shaft, and don't realize that you got the shaft. Because you got a corporate job, that don't make you a corporate man. That means you just a laborer like everything else. Because for the most part, the small businesses have 47% of the employees. They're the ones that hire the most. and not the corporation.
So if you're talking about like a corporate man or a like manager, I would say a
Right.
supervisor,
A
superintendent.
supervisor.
That's what they called him at your job.
Supervisor.
All he is the top of the what do they call that? There's always a top and a bottom hoe.
There
He's
you
just
go.
the top hoe.
There
He's
you
still
go.
a hoe. He don't own the corporation, so he's just the top. Whereas the guy that just started yesterday, he's the bottom. So he's got to do everything everybody says and watch his P's and Q's. But the top one's got a little bit more leverage. Still don't mean that they're not in charge. They ain't in charge. Because in a second, corporation could say, we're not making enough and we're going to cut. And we're going to cut the highest salary and work our way down. Boom. Then you're done.
Then you're gone. Stick a fork in it.
We saw it happen while you were working there.
Right, absolutely. And then you'll see where you're really getting the love from.
Right.
You will definitely see. So this is a good way to look at it, because all you young cats, you guys just starting out, and you working for the company, you work for other companies, you work for other corporations.
Or going hard to get back to work. Here's the thing I say.
Right.
Safety should always be the most important thing in your life.
Right.
If it's not, then you need to reevaluate the choices you're making in life, because maybe you need to start saving more. Maybe you need to start skimming back on non-essential items so that if something like this happens, you, like I said, you have the flexibility to take care of yourself and not put yourself in a dangerous situation.
Right. Now, I'm going to say this, and we will be finished with this video. Just examples of pimps, okay? One pimp in mind, Harvey Weinstein, who's in jail and still got to go to California to be tried because he was taking advantage of females and trying to give them some type of leverage and tell them they got to sleep with him for them to be successful.
So now you're talking sexual now.
Now I'm
You're
talking,
not talking like
I'm talking about the pimps
companies.
and how sexual and how they are to try to bring you to another level.
right. And I would also mention, so we were also watching a few weeks ago about cruise ships.
Right.
And how some of the cruise ships still had employees that were still at sea.
At sea.
And then and they said they're trying to work with CDC, blah, blah, blah. And then they prefaced it with saying, but it's really because they don't want to pay, to follow the regulations of CDC and pay for transportation because it would be expensive. And I said, there you go. I was like, that shows you right there yet again. Those cruise ships, the owners of those cruise companies, I should say, the big corporate owners, they're the pimp. And those poor people that are stuck on that boat, they prostitute and they ain't going nowhere.
They ain't going nowhere. And
the CDC is the mob and they want their cut, make sure everything is in order because that's the government. And you guys do it how we say, when we say, and use what we say before you can do anything.
And check this out. So they got them sitting there, 80,000 people, okay, 2 big ships, 80,000 people sitting there, and they're daring them, challenging them. They said, if you walk off this boat, you will be arrested.
Well, yeah, because then you would have to go into a 14-day
Quarantine.
So, yeah.
But you'll be doing that in a cell, okay?
Well,
in the jail cell by yourself. Single cell
they haven't been
by
cleared.
yourself.
Yeah. And I would like to know what state would clear them to come on in. Why don't they send them over to Michigan, since Michigan wants to open up their borders and storm the Senate floor and all that?
Yeah.
Why don't you guys take them? Bet you won't. Because I sure wouldn't. They're going crazy. It's like the Wild Wild West out there in the U.S. I'll take this any day. The wind and all.
So I just want you guys to see and just have this conversation with Tina. And if you guys think that you work for the best company in the world, always remember your status. Always remember what you dare to do. Always remember who you are. Always remember that you need to rely on God and not your corporation and not your union. But you just need to rely on God. Because at the end of the day, they're going to spit you up and chew you out. And you just, when you get sick, you get hurt, you're just another number.
Yes. I think you should always err on the side of what is right. Always go with your gut.
Yeah.
If you feel like it's not right, it's probably not right. That's in life. That's a general rule. I mean, and that's also in corporations also.
Right.
It is.
Because I heard my GM say one time, he said, I got to do what my boss said. Okay, if I don't do what my boss said, I won't have a job. Well, if your boss tell you to go out there and jump off a roof, you going to jump off a roof? If the boss tell you to go out there and tell all your employees to go out there and take some cyanide and commit suicide, You gonna tell them to do it?
Wow.
No, you ain't.
It's
So
like-
it's
it's
just
like-
common sense stuff.
Yeah, it's like what I said about MGM. I worked for MGM in Las Vegas. I'm sorry, scratch that, in Michigan. And I did not agree with the rules and the regulations. I did not agree with them chewing up people, spitting it out. And when they started having gambling addiction problems, because gambling was not out there prior to us opening, we grand opened and received the first casino there. But before that, you know, people didn't know what it was to have addiction like that. And then when it happened, they were happy to take the millions when you were spending it. But then when you went bankrupt, they chewed you up, spit you out, and wouldn't even give. I remember I used a perfect example. I know this guy that used to come all the time. He's a high roller. In short, he lost everything. He lost his house. He lost his wife. He lost his business. He lost everything gambling. Is it his fault? Definitely. But guy comes in there starving, and all he wanted was comped a hot dog. They're like, there's no play. Because we checked, and you have to have constant play. And he had tons of play, tons of comps he never used before. And he was like, well, what about it? Well, play, if you don't keep it current, goes away. Your comps you lose, in case you've never gambled. And so, but I personally knew, knowing that I was a person that took care of things like that, because I worked in player development, that he had played tons. And I couldn't even give him a hot dog, so I did it. And then I got wrote up for giving him a comp. And then we had the hard conversation in the office. And I'm like, is this how we are expected to do people? And they were like, no play, no pay. They don't get nothing. And I was like, all right, well, this is literally abuse. And I don't want a part of it. It's wrong what you're doing. And I walked away from a high-paying job.
See?
Sometimes you gotta take, all you have is you.
Right. Absolutely.
I gotta live with this and this.
Absolutely.
Forever.
Absolutely.
So I did what I had to do.
Absolutely. And sometimes, you know what? You got to take the high road. It is what it is. So I'm glad we had this conversation, Tina. So now people can see, if they think they're all that in a bag of chips because they get a promotion on their job, always remember that you got a pimp over you.
Yes.
And you just a worker like me. You might have a different title, but you just a worker like me. So don't forget, you got a pimp, I had a pimp, and you always going to be the hooker as long as you work for a corporation.
I would love to hear you guys in the comments below. Tell us what you think about this video. Make sure to hit subscribe. Make sure to hit notifications. We've already released little snippets of our house. Well, actually the building, but not inside. We're waiting till we hit 1,000 subscribers, so let's make that happen. Thanks.
So, in the meantime, between the time, always remember, life is to be enjoyed. Peace.